And we are live. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft podcast. This is episode number 26, and I'm joined by the boss man of Invictus Pro Wrestling himself, Alex Accetta. How's it going, brother? How are you doing?
Going great, man. Thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you. Again, I can imagine having a little time in your busy week this week. I was like, let's hope we can get him on because I would love to break all this down. So thank you so much for coming on and
Absolutely.
joining us here. Okay, so before we get into the preview and breaking down everything about this weekend's festivities, I have to ask you the question I ask everyone that comes on. When you hear that term, the craft, especially now that you're in the professional wrestling business, when you hear that term, the craft, what does that mean to you?
Oh man. I mean, so I feel like I kind of have a unique perspective because I am a promoter, of course. I'm a booker. I'm not a trained worker, right? I was never trained, and as such, I will never. I stay behind the curtain. I never insert myself in angles. I'll never, presume to like go out and take bumps or anything like that. The amount of respect that I have for, the folks that are actually able to go out there and take the bumps is just immense. So I'm never going to, like I said, I feel like my role as a promoter is to bring out the best in those people. And I think that my relationship between myself and the in-ring talents is a collaborative one. We're both coming at this because we all want to be successful. We want to tell a story. And really, yeah, to answer your question, what do I think of when I think of the craft? I think of the storytelling component of wrestling.
Okay, got you. And that was another reason I wanted to have you on too, because I know newly a promoter as well, getting into the business. I wanted to ask what encouraged you to get into the business? Was it the love for the business for wrestling, just seeing how it was being ran? What got you to say, you know what? Let me start a promotion. Let me get involved.
Yeah. So I started out as a fan, as we all do. I So after I graduated college, I was working as a teacher. I still am a teacher. That's my real job. But um, I was working as a teacher, a middle school teacher in New York City. I was absolutely miserable my first year out, as most new teachers are. So I started going to. I used to go to indie shows in Jersey when I was younger, like around middle school, high school age, and then I stopped and I started going to indie shows again as kind of like a refuge. It was just something to sort of like give myself something to look forward to on the weekends, you know. And I was reminded of how much I love not only wrestling but indie wrestling in general. There's just something about how intimate it is and the that small scale of it. Some people think it's a turn off, and that's why I hate posts saying like, oh, well, they're doing it in front of 50 people. Like, so what? That's a selling point to me. Like, you're right there up close and personal and as part of the action. But anyway, something about the small scale of it just made me think, I could do this one day, maybe. um the problem is that it's difficult to break into the business if you don't want to be a wrestler, which I was never an athletic kid. I was never going to kid myself. Like I said, that it's way too uncoordinated to actually be in the ring myself. But um, eventually, so one of the promotions that I used to go to was Evolve. I used to go to their shows every time they would come to New York, and I was on their mailing list. And one day I got an email advertising a behind the scenes creative seminar with Gabe Sapolsky, who was the founder, booker of Evolve. He'd previously worked with Ring of Honor, Dragon Gate USA, ECW. So, basically, like if you wanted to be an independent promoter, he would be the guy to talk to. And this was the first time that he'd ever done a seminar like this, where it was specifically tailored to people who wanted to break into the business, but not as an in-ring role. So I thought this is perfect for me. I signed up. I signed up, paid the fee. The way the seminar worked was it was like on the job training almost. So we were actually backstage. There was like 10 of us. We were backstage at an actual event that he was running. It was a style battle. When he was used to do those, he would do like the double headers of style battle in the afternoon and then evolve in the evening. So we were backstage during one of those, and that was my first time ever being backstage at a wrestling event. I got to meet many people who were on that show that have since gone on to bigger and brighter things. Joey Janela was there, Matt Riddle was there, Walter, Gunther, whatever the hell they're calling him now. He was there, so it was really awesome. Nick Gage. So that was like when I sort of doubled down. I was like, okay, I could definitely do this. After that, I maintained a relationship with Evolve. Every time they came to New York, I would just start working at their shows. I would do all of this sort of menial tasks, setting up rings, ripping tickets at the door, watching the merch table, things like that. And then once we would get the crowd in, I used to sit in the gorilla position or behind the commentary booth and just sort of take notes. They would let me, on the booking and all the production aspects and everything that you would need to eventually run my own promotion, because that was always like my end goal. And I would have been very content doing that for years and just kind of working my way up the food chain. But then, as we know, Evolve, there was sort of a 1-2 punch of the pandemic, and then Evolve got bought out by WWE. Yep. I'm not sure which came first, because it was like right one after the other.
I was gonna say, yeah, I feel like that was they had just gotten the deal that was supposed to lead to something bigger, and then the pandemic kind of squashed that whole.
Yeah, so that happened, and obviously it was a bittersweet feeling, because I'm like, this was my home, as it were, for a little while, as someone who was just getting started with the business. But then I also thought of it as kind of like a sink or swim moment, like this is sort of the opening that I'm looking for to go and start my own promotion. And fast forward a couple of years, and here we are.
I gotta say, that's actually the way you started out. It's a lot quicker than a lot of people usually do. Like getting to work under Gabe Sapolsky, like that is one of the guys when it comes to this. Like his history of Ring of Honor, his history with Paul Heyman. It's like, if there's anyone you want to learn under, it's definitely him, if not Paul himself, which that's a lot harder these days. But that's a great learning tree to be under. And it reflects, again, your style of how you're creating your shows and all that. It's amazing. So that's awesome. Before we get into a little more as well, we got some comments here. We got Wes and Kyle in the chat, always showing support to talent and everything. So thank you so much for supporting. And then we got the stepdads in here too. Thank you guys for supporting. They love some Invictus Pro Wrestling. So that's awesome. Awesome.
Appreciate it as always.
But definitely, let's get into it here, because we have lots to talk about. We have the teams to go through and all that great stuff. So let's show this nice poster right here that's happening tomorrow. It's going to be the 8-City Open. So before we break into the teams and that, can you tell us a little bit about creating this concept? Because it is a different style of your normal trios tournament.
Yeah, definitely.
Where did this come? Was it based on maybe like the Chikara style, how they used to do their tournaments, or?
Absolutely was. Yep. Okay. I was a big fan of King of Trios when they were doing that yearly. I just thought it was something different. It was something refreshing. And the thing that always really interested me about King of Trios was, they would have teams that represented like established factions, on the Chikara roster, but then they'd always have teams that were like put together for the sake of the tournament. And those were always the teams that I was most curious about, because it was always interesting to see people who you wouldn't have thought would go together to work together and see what their chemistry was like and things like that. So that was kind of, I took a page from that playbook when I created the idea for this. And we're lucky enough to have some Chikara alumni actually in the tournament.
Yeah, I was gonna say there you could definitely see, especially in a certain area, there's definitely a lot of influence in it. But I definitely love the concept. I like what you've done here, and I like to see. It is an interesting idea to have pairings that's like, okay, they might like not usually go together, but let's see what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like one of the biggest factions on the independents right now. STP, Shane Taylor Promotions, half of them are in this tournament, but they're on different teams, so we're just kind of like we're messing everything up. We're mixing things up and just, seeing what we can create. So I'm excited about it.
Definitely, definitely. But let's get into it. Let's start talking some teams here. We're gonna start up with New England here. We're gonna go first with New England here. We have Little Mean Kathleen, we have Devine, and we have RJ Rude. Three
Hmm.
talent that again they've been making their waves a lot more in the tri-state area as well. Especially Little Mean Kathleen. She's been showcased a lot in Invictus as well. It's a hard hitting team right there.
Yeah. I mean, New England is a territory that's just really hot right now. When you look at Beyond, they got Wrestling Open right now, every Thursday. Chaotic, NEW, Limitless. I mean, there's so many great promotions and so much talent from that area. That's why we were going back and forth between like, oh, do we want to do like a Maine team, a Boston team, a Providence team, like because we could easily have filled multiple teams with all
Yeah.
the thing up there, but we just decided that a pan New England team was probably the best way to go there.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Little Mean Kathleen had a very impressive performance against Keely McMurphy at our last show, Love and Let Die. So we're really excited to have her back. RJ Root is my boy. He debuted for us back in July as part of he was one half of Insanely Rude for most of his career. So he's now sort of making a name for himself as a singles competitor. So this is going to be a great opportunity for him. And then Davian's someone that we wanted to work with for a while. So we're really excited to have her as the captain.
Awesome, awesome. So that also with that, I even forgot to mention that. So it is going to be captains of each team as well, correct?
Yes.
So
Yep.
okay, there we go. So let's keep it going here. We're going to go now into a team like we were talking about, that little bit of influence with Team Philly. Let's go into here as we have it's a little bit of a disadvantage because they have Big Calix in there. He's huge. He's bigger than everyone on this roster right now. So you
Yep.
have Calix, you have Shay McCoy, you have Max Zero, again, the handsome Max Zero as well.
Yep.
Uh, this is going to be an interesting combination. Again, usually you wouldn't see those pairings together. Usually they're on opposing sides as well. How did this team come together here?
Calix was somebody that we've been wanting to bring back since he, of course, faced Big Game Leroy at our show Empire Rising last June, which was a very talked about match. It even got mentioned in Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. So Calix is awesome. We've been wanting to get him back for a while. He was sidelined for a bit with an injury. So this is actually going to be his first show back from the injury. So that kind of delayed that. But in thinking about, who he wanted to captain the team, he seemed like a very obvious choice for that. The other two, there was a bit of a thing. It was originally supposed to be Pancakes and Abby Jane, actually. They had to bow out of the tournament. So we got Shay McCoy and Max Zero to come in and take their place. They're both people who have worked for us before. So we're very excited to have them back. Shay has been killing it both in singles and also as one half of the Outfielders. And their tag team partner, Weber Hatfield, formerly known as Boomer Hatfield, is going to be in competition separately, singles competition, which we'll talk about.
Definitely.
Max is just a tremendously underutilized talent that we're trying to showcase more. He has had nothing but bangers for us. So I'm excited. And like you said, they have history together. They all came up through Wrestle Factory originally, and now, through a Worldwide Dojo Camp Leapfrog. So they're a very tight-knit group. They have a lot of history together, a lot of chemistry together, and they have that sort of trios lineage going back to Shikara that I know that they're very eager to showcase.
Definitely. I can't wait to see that pairing. Also, we have some more comments here. We got the Psycho Superman himself, Smiley, in the chat. He's saying, hey, fellas, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining. So let's keep it going. We're going to Pittsburgh now. Let's talk about this pairing here as we have the Neon Blondes himself. We have Facade. We have Danny Moe. And then we have Spencer Slade. This is a little more of a more common pairing now because you have Facade, you have Danny Moe, that they know each other very well.
Yeah.
And then you're adding Spencer Slade to the mix.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
So there was a bit of a pattern when we were booking this where the farther cities
Yeah.
We just, we got the team captains lined up, and then we sort of like left it more to their own devices. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, like you're the ones putting the carload together, so bring us your best, right? Was basically what we point in. So, uh, Facade and Danny Moe, of course, they're pretty much a package deal. So, and I've been a fan of Facade for years, so I'm very excited to finally be able to bring him in. Um, Full disclosure, because y'all are going to find out soon anyway. Spencer Slade will not be able to make it.
Ooh, okay.
So we are working on a replacement right now. We've been in touch with Facade, so we will find out together tomorrow who he's going to bring along to represent the Steel City. So I'm excited about that.
That's always interesting because again, I know it's a sad thing because now it's like okay, now it's left as a mystery, but
Yeah.
also that adds some intriguement now because who could the Neon Ninja bring? There's a lot of great talent that comes from Steel City.
Yep.
You never know who can join that car ride because I can imagine uh, that's always a great thing. So, well, let's keep it going now. Let's go to DC as this is going to be a hard hitting team here because
Oh,
you have the hitman for hire himself, Mr. Grimm. We're already talking about STP here with Moses, and
mhm.
then you have Jordan Blade, who is a technical wizard. Like I can't wait to see this trio. Um, this is one of the favorites. I feel like here, like you have a team that's just going to be ruthless in there. Like
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Grimm had a very impressive showing back at Overdrive in November. He was in the triple threat match for the social media championship with Big Game Leroy and Pancakes. So we're excited to bring him back in kind of another prominent role, right, as the captain of the DC team. Jordan Blade, I love Jordan. She is probably one of the most technically sound and hard hitting women's competitors on the scene right now. And then Moses, who's making his debut for us, but like we said, it's excited. He obviously has trios experience as part of Shane Taylor Promotions. And here's a little fun fact, which we actually didn't know this until we booked the team. Mr. Grimm and Moses were high school football teammates.
ooh,
So they have some shared,
interesting.
roots going back to high school, growing up in PG County. So yeah, really exciting. You never know how people's histories sort of intertwine, and
Yeah.
how that common ground is going to play out in the tournament.
That's interesting because that also, again, when you're sharing the gridiron like that, there's already that brotherhood there.
Yeah,
That's a bond that definitely can't be broken. So I can imagine when they get in there again, I'm already talking about how ruthless they're going to be. Now you're adding again a common ground. Like that's
mhm,
it. Like
yeah,
again, it might be game over for a lot of these teams. Pun definitely intended. So let's keep it going now. Again, we're going from DC. Let's go to Buffalo as we have the team captain here, a member of the Buffalo Boys himself, and Puff. As we then have Hayden Backlund and would you be able to pronounce his name? I definitely don't want to mess up Jay Lee's first name. So sorry.
yeah. I believe it's Myung Jae Lee. Yeah,
Okay, there we go.
Korean name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Buffalo team is super interesting because Buffalo is not a city that most people think of when they think of like wrestling cities. But if you
Okay.
actually break it down and look at some of the talent that's come out of there, especially in the last few years, like there's actually a very solid scene out
Yeah.
there in Buffalo, and then like kind of the greater Western New York area as well. Puff, as you mentioned, he's one of the Buffalo boys, and if you look at Daniel Garcia obviously killing it in AEW right now, and Kevin Blackwood, since he relocated to the West Coast, has been consistently putting on very impressive displays. So Puff, I mean, we've talked to him about this. He's very eager to sort of like prove himself, that, remind everyone that he's on that same level as the rest of them. And, I think he doesn't want to be left behind. So it's almost poetic in a way that he's now coming in sort of bringing the next generation of Buffalo talent with him in the form of Hayden Backlund, of course, speaking of next generation, right? Progeny of the great Bob Backlund. And then you got Myung Jae Lee, who is a very technically gifted wrestler. very hard hitting. So the Buffalo team is like one of those. I think they're a sleeper team that's really going to impress.
No, I'm definitely looking forward to it because I've had conversations as well with Puff, and I can imagine like he was at one point he was like the newer guy out of the Buffalo Boys, getting to go around with Daniel Garcia, with Kevin Blackwood, with Kevin Bennett, and
Hmm.
now he's bringing that newer generation. I can imagine he's telling them, "Hey, this is how we're going to do it," teaching them the ropes a little bit, and they're going to bring that side of Buffalo. That again, there's so much great talent that's come out. They're definitely that sleeper team because I feel like everyone's like, oh, okay, they may not be as prominently known, but they'll definitely be the team a lot of people are going to remember after tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's going to be great. But now let's go on to Baltimore. And again, we have that STP representation here as team captain is going to be none other than the big bad kaiju himself. Then we have AK Willis, and then the shooter himself, Killian McMurphy, who I can
Yeah,
already imagine again. Killian is going to be has been feeling this weekend because I know it's Super 8 weekend. He's a former winner of the Super 8 as well. So he's definitely coming in this to win another tournament here. And he has some heavy hitters. He has the big bad kaiju himself. Like if
yeah,
you want anyone on your team, Kaiju's that guy. O'Shea Edwards is that guy. So this is
absolutely.
gonna be
Yeah,
a fun one.
yeah. I mean the DMV is hot right now, and this was another one where when we were putting the tournament together, we were going back and forth between do we want like an umbrella DMV team, or do we want to kind of break it down a little bit? So we ultimately decided to do separate DC and Baltimore teams for that reason, so that we could showcase as much talent as possible. But yeah, I mean, when we announced the trios tournament, STP's name got thrown out there immediately. So when it worked out, and O'Shea was somebody that we've been wanting to bring in for a while. So when that worked out, he seemed like a perfect choice to captain the Baltimore team. And then AK and Killian are both part of the Goons, right? So they obviously have history and chemistry together. So I think that combination of just O'Shea Edwards, raw power and having him at the helm, and then having the team rounded out by two guys who have a lot of experience, tagging together and working together. Baltimore is definitely a force to be reckoned with, or as they're calling themselves, Team Bodymore. They're going to
Ooh,
body.
there you go. And then those are some body guys right there. Again, no, I'll steal Ethan Page's line. Those are some body guys right there.
Yes, they
But
are.
now let's go into. I'm a little biased because this is my pick to win tomorrow. I have to be a little biased because I am a New York guy.
Yep.
So let's talk about Team New York himself because we have two guys I definitely am very familiar with. One of them, one of my friends. The other, I've gotten to know from training and everything like that. We're
Mhm.
talking team captain Ken Broadway, my
Yep.
brother, Big Game Leroy, and then a guy I've had on the podcast himself, a member of the Takeover, Jay Bougie. This team, I gotta say, it's star-studded right here. We have the former social media champion with Big Game Leroy. We have Ken Broadway, who's been making his name in Invictus, taking on a lot of the main event spots as well in Invictus. And then you have Jay Bougie, who's fresh off a six-man war in
Yeah.
Invictus.
For sure.
So this New York team, how did this come together?
Um, well, I mean, Ken Broadway, when we were thinking about who we wanted to captain the team, he was the first one that came to mind, not only because of the work he's been doing with us, but also because he's kind of someone who um the indie scene in New York City has struggled the past few years. I think between COVID, between the athletic commission, a lot of companies have kind of jumped ship and started running in Jersey. But Ken, I think, is somebody who's really like held it down in New York City. He's been doing tremendous work with House of Glory. He's been having some really high profile matches with them. Uh, and he's just somebody that reps New York. He reps Manhattan. I mean, it's in his name. Money making Manhattan's finest, right? Reps Harlem. So he was a clear choice for the team captain. Big Game Leroy, obviously, after what happened at Love and Let Die, that really just that hurt my soul. So we knew we had to throw him a bone there and bring him in as the third. And then Bougie, of course, He's got experience in that multi-man trios competition as a part of Takeover. Um, even though they came up short in the six man, I mean, it was a hellacious performance. So uh, he was definitely someone that we wanted to highlight as well.
Gotcha. No, definitely. And that's again, this is going to be a team, not just because I'm biased because it's Team New York, but it is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with because if you even as singles competitors, they all are, again, very gifted and very big parts of the company here.
Yeah.
We got Pete Rosato in the chat. He's also going to be there tomorrow, part of the
Yes, we
commentary
will.
team. And yeah, he's not too much of a fan of the commission. We're just going to showcase that. And I'm not going to repeat what Pete does because I want to make sure the commission still likes me. So yeah, I still want to be a part of New York shows.
Yeah,
So
gotta
let's keep it going as well because there's one more team. There's one more team, and again, I know this is it's gonna stay secretive till tomorrow. But we do.
so no, actually, it was announced
Was
last night.
it?
Yeah,
Oh, I
so
missed
we
that
put up
announcement.
we put up we have this new series that we're working with called the Independent Epicenter.
Okay,
Um, so hosted by the Answer ASG, and he did a nice little preview. It's on our YouTube channel if you go and check that out. But he posted a little preview breaking down the card and some of the um, you know things that fans maybe new fans that are coming in for the tournament for
yep,
the first time should be aware of.
got
Um,
you.
and as part of that, he was sent a mysterious promo, which he aired as part of that from none other than the thespian J.S. Hawthorne
Ooh, okay.
entering Sin into the tournament as
Ooh,
the eighth and final team.
so there you go. Because now that adds another element to this. Because that also means Takeover might have to fight in there.
It's possible. I mean, anything
That's
could happen. We were trying when we put this tournament together, to avoid having those sort of like existing established factions. That was why, like I was saying with STP, we were trying to
yeah.
break up the guys a little bit, um, just to level the playing field and make sure that no team's coming in with an unfair advantage. But if the unsanctioned match at the last show is any indication, Sin does what they want.
Yeah,
We
that's
have
kind
very little
of
leverage when it comes to what they choose to do.
yeah.
So when they said that they wanted in on this tournament, our hands are kind of tied. Um, so it'll be interesting, right? To see how they fare. Obviously, I feel bad for whatever team they're up against in the first round because again they're at a clear disadvantage, not only of being unable to prepare for them being a last minute addition, but also the fact that they're going up against a more united front.
Got you. No, definitely. And again, right there, just alone on that, that's those are some stacked teams. Again, we broke that down there. I there's no clear advantage anywhere. Every team has its its assets for it, and it's going to be interesting to see who can come out on top tomorrow.
Yeah.
So definitely. Now let's go into because there's going to be two more matches as well.
Hmm.
So, unfortunately, with one, we have a little caveat we have to talk about. But before we get into that, let's talk about you mentioned him earlier. Weber Hatfield is going to be in action against a man he has some history with as well, the Whisper.
The Whisper, yeah. So we
So,
got two more Chikara alumni going at it. Really wanted to showcase them being kind of on their home turf, not in Philly, but near enough to it. Um, yeah, Weber actually tweeted about it earlier today. That, like he said, he's had history with the Whisper, but this is his first time facing him since he lost that mask, which I don't think, fans on the outside looking in, I don't think they always realize what that does to a person, right? Losing their mask. It really changes someone, especially when you're someone like Boomer who has spent his entire career working under that mask. It really became a part of him and who defined him. So you can bet that he's going to be really pulling out all the stops to, redefine himself as a performer, redefine himself as an athlete. So I don't think the Whisper is quite prepared for what Weber Hatfield might have in store for him. But it's going to be a really, high flying, athletic match. Lots of good lucha things, I'm sure, thrown in there. So I'm very excited to see how this goes.
No, definitely, and I can definitely agree that that has to change not only how you compete in there, but also just your mentality. Because now it's you. There's no more of a covering. There's no more mask. There's nothing that's hiding who you are in there.
Yeah.
But also, I can imagine Weber. Also, he got to talk a lot with Avery Good, the former
Mhm.
Dasher Hatfield, getting to see how this is going to be, how to transition in, and how to get himself ready for matches now. With it's just him now, but
Absolutely.
it's going to be a great matchup. Again, they have their history, first time now as Weber Hatfield and the Whisper going at it. But I can imagine it's going to be even better now. It's going to be
Yeah.
something totally different that the fans at Invictus are definitely going to enjoy.
Yeah.
But now let's go into now we have a championship matchup to talk about. Again, it's going to have a caveat now because we do have to show this next image as well. But we do know Chris Malijo, Mucho Malijo is defending after the heinous actions at the last show. But again, we won't get into that.
Yeah.
What we can talk about, unfortunately, Love Doug has a little bit of a heartbreak and won't be able to make it to tomorrow's show. Again, it's understandable. It happens. So now, again, as the boss man, does that mean is Chris getting a night off?
No, absolutely not. And Chris should know that after all the crap he pulled at the last show, that yeah, we're not letting anything slide. Um, so Chris will be competing. It will be an open challenge. Um, we've been speaking with Love Doug behind the scenes. He will once he's healed up. I mean, we love Doug. So once he's healed up, he'll be back and he'll get that shot at the title. But in the meantime, we've been talking. We've been throwing some names back and forth, and I think the fans will like where we're going with this. Other than that,
Hey, that's fine for me. Again, you have to leave something to have that unexpected feeling. That's what you wanted to show. When you're going to a wrestling show, you want to be able to not know everything. You want to not have everything be predictable. You want it to be that expect the unexpected, like the SAT used to say. So
absolutely.
that's great. So definitely, if I'm Chris, I'm watching this and I'm again getting ready for anything because you never know what could happen, especially when that title's on the line. But here we go. We got more comments as well. We got Pete enjoying the love for the Chikara alumni. That's always great. Again, those Chikara
100.
guys, they definitely are very talented, and we can't wait to see what they do tomorrow. And then Pete, again, not a fan of Maliho. Yeah, he did some heinous acts. I'm already not happy because he attacked again one of my friends in Big Game Leroy. But again, I get it. He's trying to do his thing in front of Wrestling Zone. So I get it. It's
I should have never let him in that ladder match. I feel partially responsible.
hey, you didn't know. You didn't know what he would do. So, but there we go. We have again a stacked tournament for tomorrow. We have two amazing matches also happening. It's what else are we? What else can you tell the fan base of what to expect tomorrow?
Well, I did promise that I was going to be revealing some first round matchups. Uh,
Ooh, so let's get into it.
yeah, I mean, if we want to do that now, I'm going to read them from my notes here.
Okay.
I don't have graphics. I apologize because
No,
this.
don't worry. We'll just showcase the
Yep, with all
teams
of
and
the last minute shuffling around and stuff, it made it a little hard. But here we go. On the left hand side of the bracket, we have Team NYC versus Team Buffalo.
oh, there you go. So you
Two
having
Empire State teams going at it. Yep.
oof. So you got that, and we got Buffalo. There we go.
Um, and then also on the left hand side of the bracket, we have Team DC taking on
Ooh.
Team New England.
Oh, there you go. We're trying to, I guess, put the areas a little closer there. So there we
Yes.
go. Okay.
Moving over to the right hand side of the bracket, we have Team Baltimore versus Team Pittsburgh.
Ooh, there you go.
So that one's going to be really good. And last but not least, and we were just extolling the Chikara alumni, so I hate to put them in this position, but Team Philly that leaves is going to have to deal with Sin in the final first round matchup.
Well, I guess you kind of you're doing something interesting there because you have a team that again they have their history with the King of Trios. They've been around it. They've been exposed to it. So
Yeah, I
they
mean,
might have the slight advantage with a team that again they put their noses where it shouldn't be. They're the
that's
ones
true.
that tried to power their way in. So now face the consequences.
Yeah,
So
there we go.
there you go. Again, if you guys are watching, and for those watching the replay as well, you have your bracket for tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to see again who can make their way to the finals, who can win it all. So that's going to be interesting. Also, I have to ask then, for the winning team, is there something you're planning, or is that something we should wait for tomorrow?
Yes, we got some prizes, some
Ooh,
little some I think we'll make it worth their while.
okay, there
How
you go.
exactly you're just gonna have to tune in to find out.
Hey, that's the best thing. I just wanted to see. I was like, there has to be something here because I can imagine again with your love for the King of the Trios, there was always that reason to want to be a part of that team. Because again, it was already a immense tournament, but it's also there was that bonus to it. So
Yeah,
definitely,
when you look at the talent that's involved on these teams, I mean, no matter what happens, no matter who ends up winning, you know, it's they're definitely going to be three very talented individuals
definitely.
that deserve some kind of reward
Yeah.
going forward.
So let's keep it going here because also we can talk a little bit about again. Not only are we playing, are you were talking about tomorrow's show, but we can also talk a little bit about In Bloom 2 coming up
Yes.
as well. You have again the ladder matches being planned. You didn't learn from what Chris did, and now we're planning the next one.
Yep.
We're just giving the option for someone else to possibly do another heinous act in there. You added PJ Savage and Bougie to it. There's again two guys that are willing to do whatever it means to get their victories. So
Yep.
that's
Yeah,
gonna
we
be
got so that's going to be I mean probably the biggest dynamic going into that match, but right, five other individuals who are going to be in that match, two of which haven't been announced yet.
yeah,
So, it's going to be it Bougie and Savage, better be looking over their shoulders while they're duking it out with each other. We got Pretty Boy Smooth in there, who of course at 6'9", has a bit of an advantage in this kind of matchup, and you know that he's going to be trying to get that briefcase so he can join his buddies in Milk Chocolate in the winner's circle, as it were,
yeah.
with that championship gold. We've got
What-
Mike Skyros, who's someone who we've been wanting to bring in for a while, so we're very excited to have him. And then we have Ichiban, number one, who
Yep.
had a banger of a match, show stealer against Gabriel Sky at Overdrive back in November. So we're very excited to have him back as well. Very high flying style, very suited to that kind of match. So it's as of right now, it's anyone's game. And like we said, we still have two more entrants yet to be revealed.
That's always great because again it's just leading to that anticipation now. Who could possibly be in there? Who's going to be able to grab the pre-real brass ring of
Mm,
Invictus there? So that's always great.
yeah.
And hold on, we have Pete's comment. Pete's supposed to be unbiased. He's a commentary team. He's not supposed to give his favorites, and he's letting us know here a torn between Baltimore and DC.
There,
Uh,
see, he rinsed his hands of any responsibility. He put favorite in quotes.
there you go. Okay, so he's trying to play that way.
He's a
I,
professional.
no,
Yeah,
okay, well, there
he's
you go.
always a professional.
But yeah, that's definitely again. I said it. Team DC. You can see it in Baltimore as well. It's
Yeah,
hard to pick. Again,
yeah.
I'm gonna be biased because again, I'm gonna have to go with New York, but that's just me. Um. Also, okay, let's go into a few more questions I have for you now that we've gotten the matchups, all the promoting out of the way. Let's talk a little bit. Usually, when I have competitors on, I'm asking them who do they have their eyes on as far as who they want to wrestle.
Mm.
From the promoter standpoint, for you, is there anyone that again you don't have to say if they're confirmed for anything in the future, anything like that? Is there anyone you have your eyes on that you would like to bring into Invictus one day?
Um, I mean, there's a bunch. There's every show that I go to that aren't my own shows. I'm always
Yeah.
going there with the promoter's lenses in mind, scouting talent, and there's you know I've seen a lot of people complain that the market's saturated right now, that there's so many promotions running and there's so much talent out there. But I see that it's a good thing. It forces people to work hard, to stand out, to be noticed. There's a few folks that I have seen who have really been impressing me. I won't name any names specifically, but there's a few people who coming out of the Wrestle Pro and Creative Pro schools
Okay.
that I've had my eyes on. I mean, those are just well, it's really one school with two locations, but I mean, the
Yeah.
track record that they have of producing talent has been unreal. And this next crop that they have coming up, who are just starting to break out and make a name for themselves, has been really impressive. Also, on a larger scale, the Southeast, which is a historically kind of like, I feel like it's a territory that gets written off a lot because people think of it as like redneck, like outlaw mud show type stuff. But the Southeast indie scene is really lit right now. And I think us in the Northeast, we tend to like stay in our bubble a little bit. But there's a lot of talent coming out of the Southeast right now. IWTV's been showcasing them a lot. They have the new season of Uncharted Territory. They're producing out of Chattanooga. AC Mac right now holds the IWTV title, so that's a region that I think hopefully we start giving our flowers to. I've had my eye on a few people from down there as well. Might be a little bit more pricey to bring them up, but I see that as an investment that would definitely be worth it.
Got you, got you. I know that's definitely something I can imagine that's something now that adds to your plate as well as it's the price. I get that. Again, the
Yeah,
promoter thing is having to decide. Again, you would want to book everyone in there in the world,
of course.
but you have to also be mindful of again creating the right card to make sure that not only is it right for the fans, but also again the budget. I,
Yep.
I get it.
Absolutely.
So well, let's fast forward a little bit now. Let's go into with I usually ask the end goal for the the wrestlers of okay, where do they want to end up? Where do this for Invictus? Where what are some goals that again the company wants to accomplish? You already have now social media championship, tag team championship. Is there another championship in mind that you do have for you? Is there a goal in mind that creating another prize for your competitors?
Yeah, I mean we've definitely something that's been talked about for sure. Um, our thing is like we don't want to like certain other companies just introduce championships for the sake of just having them.
No.
Um, and I actually yeah, I don't know if they're still watching, but the stepdads, Radley from the stepdads made a great post about this the other day of, um, giving titles meaning, right? Having them bring something to the table as far as a stipulation or a characteristic or something. So we've had a few ideas for that. Like we said, we wouldn't just want to just introduce a title for the sake of giving people something to fight over. Because I think you could tell meaningful stories without necessarily having a title on the line. But
Yeah.
that's something that we've kept in mind. Yeah, and I think on that note of stories is just we want to move in a more storyline driven direction. We have a few really solid long burn stories that we've been telling, which has been great. I think on the indies right now, there's this tendency to just book like super cards and book all the must see names, the must see marquee matches without any real like sort of narrative or greater
Yeah.
arc tying them all together. So that's sort of the direction that we're trying to move into. Other than that, um, we just want to run in more places. We want to have bigger shows. We want to attract more fans. We want to share what we do with as many people as possible.
Okay. And that was leading to my next question as well about could we possibly see again? I see your love for what Jakara did. Could we ever see Invictus leave the New Jersey area? Could Philly ever be a market you're looking to get into? Again, with a tournament like this at the City Open tomorrow, is this almost a shot of like where you're looking at the markets you're looking at to possibly one
Yeah,
day bring Invictus to?
yeah, definitely. We'd love to come to Philly. I mean, selfishly, a bucket list goal for me as a promoter would be to run a show at the arena.
Oh yeah.
Um, I mean, I think that's on every promoter's dream list. But yeah, I mean, you got to crawl before you run, obviously. So yeah, I mean, just putting the feelers out in the Philly area would definitely be one. Philly's one of those cities that just it's so steeped in history as far as wrestling is concerned. So that would be an area. Also, I mentioned before, New England's very hot right now, and in June, on June 4th, we actually are going to be running in Connecticut for the first time in
Ooh,
Hartford,
okay.
Connecticut, and that's going to be a crossover show with Test of Strength Wrestling, our friends at Test of Strength Wrestling. So we're really excited about that. But yeah, as far as like dipping our toes into these new territories, we're trying to just not come out swinging all at once. I wanted to, for the event tomorrow, I wanted to, bring a special kind of gimmick, something to offer, something to, that's different from what the other promotions are offering, to kind of put our best foot forward, as it were, stepping into a new market. And same thing with the Connecticut show in June. Obviously when you're dipping your toes into a new territory, a new market, it always helps to have a partnership with somebody who's already established in that area. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for the things we have in the works. Um, and I'm just really looking forward to sharing it with all the great fans.
Awesome. And no, I'm glad to hear that. Again, when you can see the excitement, especially on a promoter's face, they're invested in what they're doing. It's not just for the sake of it. Like you said, again, if you wanted to, you could do those supercards. That's something. But I can definitely see you love that storytelling element, and that's something I always preach about in wrestling. I love story. You have to make wrestling mean something, have something else than just the okay, yeah, these two guys are wrestling just because he's hot and this guy has that. It's like I like the story element of it. If you can make it mean something, have something that's like okay, now I'm invested. It's great.
Yeah, it's truly is a lost art, I think.
Yeah, definitely. No, and that's great, and it's starting to showcase of what you're doing as well because you have, again, certain matches have that story already built. Like again, Sin's coming in tomorrow. They're coming out of that 6-man war again. If the chance of possibly Sin and Jay Bougie having to face off again, there's story in there. You have again STP. There's a story because now it's like, could we see STP have to face off somewhere in there? So again, you're telling that story without even having to do much.
Yeah.
It's just the opportunity of it possibly happening that tells it all. So that's great. So before I start letting you go, because again, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because again, it's a busy weekend. You have shows, you got a lot to plan, and I can imagine it's always till the 12th hour that it's like there's still something you have to do.
Yeah.
So
Don't worry, I'm not sleeping tonight.
I don't expect you to. Sadly, I know how it
Yes.
goes. But so again, for you, again for the company, we've mentioned all the great things you do want to have and do accomplish for it. What would be the end goal for you as a promoter for Invictus for yourself? What would you like to accomplish before everything is set in stone?
Um, just I mean, like I said, I want to run in more places. I want to run in more territories. I want to build Invictus up to a nationally recognized brand. I see some great indie promotions, and I want Invictus to be in that same conversation. As places like Beyond and GCW and all these places. And on a personal level, you know, there's unfortunately a lot of not so great people in wrestling. So I want to leave behind a legacy of positivity, honestly, within the business. I want to be, known and remembered as somebody who, treated talent well, treated fans well. that's really just my biggest personal goal. I see myself as, not only the um, a leader behind the scenes, but also an ambassador for the brand. That's why I do podcasts like this. I love coming on and talking about my brand. So
Gotcha. No, and I could definitely see it. Like it's coming off especially genuine from your tone and how you're telling me about your brand. You could hear it, that love for the business and love for it. Again, that's why I wanted to have you on because I wanted to see as well. Again, you're definitely coming in new to the business. You're coming in, like we said, you weren't trained, you weren't in that side of the business, but coming in with that genuine love and trying to make a difference, it's always good to hear. It's definitely something that um it's a reason why I even created this podcast, Respect the Craft. You have that respect for it. And that's something I definitely appreciate. I can imagine a lot of people watching because I have a lot of workers in here that are watching, and they definitely appreciate your kind words and how you speak about this business that we love. So I thank you for doing this and for creating a brand that is as positive driven and as story driven. And again, a brand that's not just for, yeah, let's get a payday. No, let's create something that's going to be a difference. So I definitely appreciate that. And thank you for coming on.
thank you, man. This has been an absolute privilege.
Oh, thank you. Again, guys, don't forget tomorrow. Link's going to be in the description down below to get your tickets. Go down, go have some fun, enjoy the tournament. Eventbrite is going to be your place to get tickets. Also, go follow Invictus so that you never miss an update about where they're doing their next shows and the next shows coming up, especially their announcements. Again, like we said in Bloom, there's still mystery opponents in there, so you never know when an announcement could come like that. So there you go. Follow them on Instagram, Invictus Pro Wrestling. Go follow them on Twitter at Invictus Pro One. So there you go. Again, thank you so much, Alex, for coming on. Have a great weekend, and again, try not to get too stressed out because I know it's coming tomorrow. But
Yep.
as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people, and respect the craft. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.